What is going on, guys? This is Allegedly, and this is podcast number 7. I gotta write this down. Yes. Okay. How you guys been? Everybody good?
Yeah.
Good. I am 1D.
Sharisa.
Faith.
Ninja.
And Shen.
We're back at it today. Marius is not here for this one. He had to take care of some other vibes. But yeah, how you guys been before we get into the topics? Everybody good?
Same stuff, different
Y'all
day.
done with finals.
I'm awesome. I was about to say
Finished
that finals are over. Yes.
Yeah, I have one more Monday.
Oh.
Apart from that and this voice, I'm good.
Oh yeah. Cold Monday, but everybody's like, okay, good. So okay, let's go right into it then. This week we're talking about interracial relationships.
Yep.
Cool?
All right.
What is you guys' feelings on these topics? Like, how do you guys feel about a person from a different race dating another person? Do you guys think they're just leaving their race? Do you think they're just looking for love? Do you guys think, what is the consensus?
My opinion is very biased.
Talk about it.
It is. I have a personal experience with it. So, because of that, it kind of pushed me into an area where I don't like it. Again, it's bias.
So you're against interracial relationships?
I've actually learned to deal with it,
Yeah.
but from coming out of the situation that occurred in my life, I became against it. But as I continue to grow and mature, as long as they ain't messing with my stuff, I found a way to deal with it. Otherwise, it holds me back. But ultimately,
So like, if it's not too much to ask,
Oh.
what were the things that turned you off about it when you were like in those situations?
oh well. To
Like,
be
if you-
frank, some white woman stole my man, my black man. So
Okay.
that's why my opinion is very extremely bad.
Do you think
Extremely.
that happened just because she was a white lady, or he could have done it with another black girl or African American girl? You think that would have happened?
Yeah, but it's just something about the way we think about race anyhow. That
Okay.
where it feels like a blow here to you when a white woman who already feels they're entitled, because just like white men and y'all own personal thing, we have ours as well. So they already feel entitled, but now you want our black men, and they always seem to get the ones that are better.
Yeah, I was gonna get into that before, like, because there seems to be this idea of like people thinking the people that are doing good, like let's say the athletes, the musicians, the people that are like successful in general, like education, all that. Whenever they get to make it big, it looks more like people tend to say like or think that they go with the other race, or like they go with it, like
Mm-hmm.
they call it exotic here, which is insane. That's a thing that happens out
Exotic?
here.
Yeah.
Exotic,
But exotic,
yeah.
it's you gotta
That's
go
a
for
thing.
something like lighter or in the vice versa. Like, do you think that happens even with women? They go with like when they're making it big, they go with the other races. How do you guys feel about that?
To me, love is love.
Talk about it.
I've learned to be open-minded to things, Before I judge somebody, I put myself in that situation. So, yeah, I know black men, most of them, when they go to date a white woman, they bash the black women, be like, oh, you have a big nose, oh, you this, you that, And they praise the white woman. So I feel like if you want to date outside of your race, you can date, but don't belittle your race. You understand what I mean?
Well, I'm
Yeah.
like you were not.
Yeah,
before.
don't act like
Yeah.
you're in another level now because you're dating somebody outside your
Wait,
race.
so do you think that happens commonly, like where the guys bash the other girls? Because of course, certain people have their certain qualities, like as individuals. I'm not saying like, but you might like a girl because she's more spontaneous. But like, does that spontaneousness come from her being this race, or like, I don't know.
Maybe.
I think okay, I think or I see or whatever, but it's more of a sort of that men, if they want a submissive, more of a submissive wife, they'll go for the other race because.
White, they
Forgive my whatever I'm gonna say, but probably because they're more easier to control, quote unquote, because they keep saying women are the angry black women, they're angry, they're always fighting, they're this, they're that, and it's like rubs all a bad face on us.
Yeah.
Whereas, let's say there is a cheating scandal, there is a much likely chance for the white lady to stay than the black girl. If the black girl stays, then she's gonna fight you at all occasions, and then now all of a sudden, I don't know how to put it, but I don't know if you guys.
they feel like the white women are more submissive.
Yeah, and
So,
like
yeah.
more understanding
And
more
understand, and not crazy.
They're easier to push over.
That's what they say.
I feel like sometimes other races are a little more crazy than we are. We just have.
I'm saying what they think. I'm not saying like that's a fact. Like they're more. We are the crazy ones.
Because everybody got their crazy. I feel like we all got our
facts
shares.
and opinions.
Yeah, what do you? I feel like Shanna's been on the corner just going.
Yeah, because I feel I'm gonna need a good 5 minutes to go.
Yo, bro, go for it, my G.
Because I have a number of things to point out. I feel like we should have started off like defining interracial dating. Like I can
Okay.
ask that. But so far, all I've heard is black man, white woman. First of all, what is interracial dating?
Dating outside of your race.
And how many races are there?
There's plenty of races.
Plenty of races? Because you have other people that just say there's one race, the human race.
Yeah.
Then we can move into the post Then we can move it. No, but that's probably what she was touching on. Love is love.
I just felt that.
I feel like
All right, can I get my 5 minutes?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm not saying you guys can't chime in. I'm just trying to say, think about all these different things, these different angles.
Yeah.
Now we have the whole talk of the facts. I feel like the fact is, if you want to say there's like, I don't know, 4 races, you can pick them out, or 5 or 3, I don't know. I feel like people that identify with each other, at the end of the day, I feel like at least 80% of all of them end up being married to themselves, to each other. You know? And even when you single out black versus white, I think I saw the stats for America.
Yeah.
I think it was like, I'm going to go conservative. On the low end, at least 80, look it up. Yeah. At least 85% of black men marry, black women. When you really look at it. And then of the remaining, what's that, 10-15%, it's not just with other white counterparts. It's like a mixture of all of the other races too. You gotta read. That's the facts. I'm telling you.
Okay, so while we're looking at stats,
that's all myths.
Because I understand what you're
saying.
But while we're looking
before
at
we get into that,
numbers,
I want to define the fact that we were talking about interracial marriage and stuff and relationships. I was saying, I wasn't just saying black and white because I was talking about in general. When I say ethnic, it's outside of your race.
And you stipulated that.
And that's why when she started off,
but she gave an example of. What
it was
she
so
knew.
narrow, yeah.
But she was talking about
biased. I said it was
I don't want it to come off like that, but like, cause you can date an Asian person and go, they're better than your race. They're a different person when you up. It's like,
but
do you feel
so
like
you
upgraded when you go to another race?
But if we're
that's what I was talking about.
If we're gonna say it's just one human race. To begin with,
I'm
it's not gonna be an interracial.
I know, so you gotta think if it's an okie doke thing.
So this conversation wouldn't even be there if it's like we all want race, and I would love for all of us to think that it's one race, but it's not like that. Like,
and I get
not
it.
A lot of people.
And I get that. And that's what I'm saying. Like it's out here as a talk, interracial dating, interracial marriage, interracial relations, but. Should it be like Because I feel like the more significant thing is when you cross culture, when you cross more things deeper than like how people appear to the eyes. You know? That's really where the real stuff lies, the substance of
But
the relationship itself.
don't different races have different culture?
Yeah, but you can't tie everything to a skin color because
But
people from the same nations. It's funny because we're in America.
no,
What's an American?
it's
What
more,
skin? What race is the
it's-
Americans?
Shen,
You see what I'm
it's
saying?
It's
Depends
more
on who you
of,
are. Like,
That's what I'm saying.
not-
It's tough
Shen,
to.
it's more of, yes, I get it. It's cultures and whatever, but every time there is a different race, there is a different culture. It doesn't matter. Even in a household, there can be some traditions that are not in the other household, but there are things as a culture or whatever, that are things that as a race you all agree upon or like see eye to eye. Majority, as the same way you're saying 85%.
Yeah. Uh huh. Cool. No, you're good. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was saying, when there is a mixing, like let's say I'm married to a black guy and a white guy, he's most definitely at some point gonna take some of my culture, like, and at some point he's gonna identify himself as one of my people. But that brings up the whole argument where people say, like, just because you were raised in the hood or you were that and that, it doesn't make you one of us. But now, talking about that, actually, it makes me wonder, like, where does it leave the people that were born and raised in, like, a different country? Like, let's say like, that girl, the Africana girl, who won the Miss Universe.
Yeah, South African.
Yeah, the South African girl.
She was
Now,
white. She was Caucasian.
That's what
Correct?
I'm saying. But
And she won Miss South Africa, which is majority black.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like
And
even
continue.
on that, she can be South African. Like she's on paper South African, but her basis. She's Caucasian, like you said.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure she's just as I don't know,
No,
maybe within her
if you
circle,
go there, it's like
she's
there's
just
a
as
different
South
divide.
African
Like,
as
That's
people
what
anybody
I
South
was
else.
saying.
Africans, she's not like that. When people hook up with her, there's a different culture they go into because they have like that Afrikaans or whatever culture they got.
Yeah, and then
And
their
that
apartheid thing is so fresh.
No,
That's
even
from
if
the
you go,
90s.
like even if you go anywhere else, like if
yeah, I feel like at the end it doesn't matter even if you were born at somewhere, as long as your parents moved there. There's some type of culture and traditions that were passed on from their older people. Like, let's say I'm white and I went to live in Jamaica or whatever. There are some things that I did or I was taught by my grandma from wherever country, let's say I'm from like England or whatever, that I was taught from my grandma that I'm gonna pass on to my kids, which is what I'm saying with the race. With the race comes a culture, even though there might be some type of mixing and self-identifying yourself as something else. It doesn't stop you from still having whatever culture you were taught, like brought up with.
Yeah,
So I have
it
a
gets
question.
tricky when you get into deeper generations because you brought up Jamaica, and coming from Jamaica, I know like okay, like all the mixing of Jamaica. I mean, we birthed the country in this '62, and we adopted the motto. Everybody voted on it. Out of many, one people. Out of many different backgrounds, we're one. Now, so everybody was kind of there already. You know, the whites, the Europeans, you know, a whole bunch of blacks from all over Africa, and you know, the Asians and the Indians from India. And it's so many generations deep now that by the time I was growing up, I was born in the mid '80s, and growing up in the '90s and the 2000s, everybody that they still have their, I guess, pure, you know, DNA from, you know, the Indian, the Asian and all of that, but like they've been here so long, like they have grandparents that were now born in Jamaica. That 3 generations in, all my peers that look so different, we're all of the same mindset and we practice all the same things. Yeah, like they might wear different clothes when they go to their weddings and all this stuff or whatever, maybe. And like the way they operate their businesses might be a little different or whatever. And they will hold on to their language and stuff. But like, to be honest, that's the old folks, you know?
But what's the culture then?
That's what I'm saying. Everybody kind of like even out. Everybody's now just Jamaican culture.
No,
everybody is just Jamaican
all those
culture. We all speak the same after generations, and so we all connect on a light manner.
The differences you mentioned still like sticks them out of like they don't operate all the way like the Jamaicans would, but they don't. They have some of the traditions or like culture that you Jamaicans have, but they still keep their own stuff, like the way they operate business.
Yeah, but it's like
that's the way
the percentage. It's like what's majority. I get what you're saying, but it's like I'm letting you know that it's like majority. It's gonna be over 50% of stuff that everybody shares alike anyway. Just being that everybody is here in the country, and then it's a smaller amount that makes it different
Jamaica
and separate.
Being a very small country, the population is very small.
Yeah, it was 4
My
million.
country, we're all Ethiopians, but you have like more than 80 whatever languages, crazy different ethnic groups. And then even when you marry outside of that, it's still like, oh, what's up? Like, still, we live peacefully, share same religions, similar religions, but people have their own cultures and stuff. Mm-hmm. Like, my dad and my mom are like different ethnic groups, you get what I mean? They can, like my dad has his own culture, my mom has her own crazy culture, very different. They don't even like, when they link up and we have to come together, it's like, now the cultures try to mix, but they still have, my dad has his own ways of doing things. My mom has her own ways, dude. My cause I was mixed out of two people, but they're still from the same country, you get what I mean? Mm-hmm. So even in that, like, they still, when you go outside, like, when people even, for example, like, their weddings, right? Yeah. The way certain weddings, like, when a person is getting married to a person from a different stuff.
Bitch, what? Bitch, what? Bitch, what? Bitch, what?
You have to look at it and go, like, somebody has to sacrifice somebody's gonna get married the other person's way, you get what I mean? Because it's two different cultures. Now their culture is gonna be like, some people go crazy at partying and the music is different and all that, and then the other ones are a little bit mellow, low key. Mm-hmm. So somebody has to give up some type of.
Yeah, and I think that's what Ninja was saying.
That's exactly what I was about to say.
Who gets to swallow up whose? Yeah, go ahead. I'm
not even about who gets to swallow up whose. And I'm thinking about for future generations to come. As you mix these different cultures, different ethnic groups, and everybody's morals and everything are different, do we think about the offsprings and the things that they're going to deal with, their trials and tribulations on even self-identification?
There's a lot of kids these days I've been watching.
There's a lot of kids.
Black low-key because it's kind of cool to be black. Let's not mix kids, right? Yeah.
Well,
it's their right. To be honest, like I get it, but they're half as white as much as they're half black. You get what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's not a bad thing. There've been a lot of stuff that's going on. You get what I mean? But now people tend to pick, like I've seen a lot of even people in the public and stuff. They tend to pick the black stuff. Again, I don't know where that lies. I don't know how people and the white parent feels on that situation. I don't know. I don't know if they feel like their culture is being like left out. You know what I mean?
Or do you feel like that maybe because so much has adopted the black culture that it will be easier to go along with that to feel like I'm fitting in as opposed to doing something that might be a little bit more comfortable to me. So just dealing with that self-identification, which is why I think that sometimes the interracial mixing can bring a deeper conflict within the individual that we're not thinking about right now. So when the interracial relationships are happening, I think it's important to be able to install both cultures within that person, their offspring, and allow them to know that you can be whoever and however you want to be as long as you're comfortable with yourself. But I think it's hard. So I think there's a lot of things that when you're just thinking about whatever physical attraction or whatever the attraction is that you have with that person initially, other things happen that affect other people. in a major
For
way.
example, there's a video. I'll try to pull it up. I'll show you guys too, if possible. Remember the video? Like, it's this Korean guy, Asian guy, and he was bringing home a black girl, right? And she's even, you look at her and she looks a little bit like, and I'll even pull it up so that people can see. And it was like one of those big videos on YouTube. And let me see. And the guy brought the girl home, and their reaction, dude, was insane. Like, the guy was so nervous, and they had been there before, and they had visited them and everything. But I'll put it up so that like we'll get to watch it all together and stuff. Let me just like get like let me I'll do this and yeah. So this is a couple that are going to meet. The girl is gonna meet the boyfriend's parents, I think, for the second time. So they're outside their house right now. I'll leave the link in the description, but you get to see what they were like. It was tough out here. Like,
the girl is black and Asian, I think.
Yeah, the girl is black and like she looks mixed, and yeah. So.
It's just gonna be a 5-minute thing. We're gonna go in and out. Right? You're not gonna say anything. I'm not gonna say anything. I'm not gonna make eye contact. I'll just say anything. I'll look down. The only time I make eye contact is when I see somebody coming in. But what if I don't know the difference between your mom or your sister? Can't I just say hello to Bo?
Okay.
Hello. Like that?
Okay.
Well, you cannot say hello to him bow. It's like you're mixing the two cultures.
Why not? I'll say, I don't want to... like, I want to show respect that I would bow, but I don't want to disrespect you or offend you in any way by pretending to know your language. So I'm just going to say hello. And then look down. Anywho. Decent? No. Should be wearing pants and you should go
He's
back.
so nervous.
It's experience.
He's
You
so
spent
nervous.
30 years around them.
Yeah, so he knows how they're going to react.
Hello. How are you?
엄마 아빠가 내 여자친구가 만나기 싫어가지고 들어왔어.
I don't know. The first thing he said is kind of negative.
I'm so sorry. Oh my.
She can scream.
지금
She said, I'm suffering from a major
No,
illness.
the mom is like.
Yeah. And the parents are really old, so the culture and tradition is still in
Everybody
them.
has the flu. Man.
언제 만날 거야? 아빠가 그럼 연락해줄게. 언제?
The dad is trying to be
Yeah.
mild about it.
They're not even trying to let the son in the house.
가만히 있어. 그렇게 떨지 말고.
Oh
아이,
wow.
내 앞에 있어. 아빠가 저기 정리해서 연락해줄게. 응?
And she's mixed. Imagine if she was all dark skin.
이렇게
I don't think it matters.
It doesn't matter.
Look.
가만히 만나자고 다 취소하잖아. 그러면 아빠가 그럼 저기 정리를 해가지고 너하고 나하고 이렇게 부서지지 말고 그건 좀 말.
I feel like you
아니 그때도
failed
취소인데
them.
다음에는 취소 안 한다고 어떻게 말할 수 있어? 안돼 알겠어 아빠가 다시
He kept trying to
Yeah.
go
Dad
see
is
the
just trying to
parents.
like.
He's
you know,
mediating.
Yeah,
Be
like
nice.
trying to not to come in between the mom and him, like.
Yeah.
조정을 하고
I hear the dad backing up what the mom's saying. The mom's BS.
그동안 일을 좀
Yeah.
없어서
Oh, I
look
feel
at
bad
her.
for the girl.
내가 그럼 셋이
Look how she feels.
She's.
많이 먹었어. 응? 아빠가 천년 만년 살 것도 아니고 하여튼간에 너희들 잘 키우는 걸 봐야지 너도 그렇고 생각해.
I mean, and she may not understand, but she knows what they're saying.
Yeah. They
That's
posted
what I'm
the
saying.
video,
Those
so
are the
you
brave
can-
people, I feel. But it's like, that's what the other people say. Like, why don't you just, why put yourself through that? But then my thing is, God damn, like, we gonna bash love like that? Like, if they care about each other.
I think the mom is seeing this as like he's letting them down. You know what I mean? Like she's like I said,
Like
she's private school.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I hear all that.
You can do much better.
Now they're like, well, we can't meet today. We're all sick. This, not the third. But then they're gonna throw in all that extra stuff.
No.
Chapter 10, y'all. We're never gonna forget this day now.
Yeah, she can keep it cool. Like,
It was like
What are you gonna do?
so teary-eyed. I had to hold back. I was like, okay.
I'll just be
I don't know what
quiet.
they say. But
You are the right.
like emotion just
But if she's quiet, he's quiet.
Maybe she expected. I think he knows how his parents are. So,
Or maybe she's been through this prior to this.
He clearly expected it, and he probably prepped her. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, I feel like he said
That's
something that
not the
made
first
his
time.
mom and dad. I don't even know
They
if
say
the
like
mom
it's
saw
not the
her.
first time.
they tried to make it set
Yeah,
up.
like it's, but they literally say this is not the first time this happened. You know what I mean?
But
But
they keep not making the
They
meeting.
keep
yeah,
making
they
appointments
find a
and-
way
yeah.
not to meet them, and
Yeah.
that's what I was talking about. Like, see, even though like people see it as you're stepping out of your culture, you know, like it's like how do I like the mom? She's like, what does her paying for her son's private school have to do with him?
And treating the
She
kid
was
as gold.
saying-
You were supposed to raise
Like,
me
you know what I mean?
as gold, as the
Yeah.
most
But
precious thing.
for
'cause I
her,
was your son.
I don't know her like that,
Was
but
the
I feel like it's
investment.
like more like you
Yeah.
letting me down. We've done all this. We want to see you succeed. Type of stuff. He's like failed at life for being with a person who's from a different race. See, they're probably seeing it as like he's letting them down. He's not gonna carry on their family traditions. You get what I mean? He's not gonna carry down the family values. He's not gonna.
Things are about to change.
Yeah, like that's more what they're coming from. And last
And
time
that's
we were
their
talking about
roots.
this because
True.
You know,
it's like
that's their
if
roots.
you're trying to keep your
Your culture and
your core, you were like
traditions
some people want to keep that. You yourself
Mhm.
said that.
They want
so-
to keep their face and they want to
Yeah,
keep what they're used
so
to. They don't want
that's
to do
not-
it all over
You can't
again.
keep your face if so you're hooking up with somebody from a different side. It's just there.
Well,
That's
yeah, but I was also pointing that with the whole genetics, like with the whole dominant recessive thing too, because that's the thing. It's like the finicky thing about like who's what race. Okay, your mom's Asian, like somebody's Asian,
But
and
that's not-
in her
that's-
parents, somebody's black,
that's
but
going
she gets to
in-
be called black.
Asian.
yeah.
You
but
see,
she's taking
so
Oh,
the
they just
Asian
had her
person,
categorized
we
as
just
Asian.
lost
the way
kid.
the person they say like once you mix with a black like
Yeah, one
once you
drop of
mix,
black
you're
blood
black.
makes you not white.
Yeah,
or
you're
not
technically
whatever.
by default. That's
So
how people
that's
see
the-
it. That's
That's what I was gonna touch on. Is like
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. How do we define the whole race thing? Because there's so many things going on. There's a concrete thing where it's like survival, trying to drive on your face, your likeness, you know. And of course, that's just the vessel. You know, some people care as much about the vessel of the look of their kids and everything that comes from them, all their kins. And you have the others that they know that the vessel is nothing. Like the vessel is just going to reflect where the world
I'll
is.
tell you this.
And it's just all about what you put inside of it.
even in
These
the
are
same-
your kids,
even
whatever
in
they
the
look
same
like, it's
culture.
going to be a little bit between me and my loved one.
Yeah.
And whatever we pour into them, that's what we care about.
I'll tell you this, right? In the same culture, in the same race people have and stuff, whenever you bring up adoption, people go, that's still not your own. You get what I mean? People still feel like that bloodline, that specificness is needed. If you come up to me and tell me I'm not my parents' child, at this point I feel like it's too late. Yeah, you know what I mean? But technically, if you're looking at that blood stuff, we're like not the same people, whatever. But people still look into it like you even tell my families because I always up to now want to adopt. If I'm gonna, I don't want to have one. Like, there's a lot of people you could help, in my opinion, that need these children. You can adopt and still be your own. You
Absolutely.
raise them there, you take care of them. But when you say that even to my own family, like my grandparents would be like, yeah, nah, that's not your kid, son. Like, that's not.
Yeah.
You still need one of your own. But I'm like, what does
You
that
can
mean?
do
I'm
that,
like,
but you still need like.
they're like, you
kid
still need
birth
one
type
of your
thing.
like, but that's like, you get what and that's the same concept. Like, you need somebody to carry the same, like, you get what I mean?
That's that immortality thing.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. It's too. I don't feel like there's anything wrong with one because one's like based on the primal instinct to survive and to have immortality, which is that's just
yeah,
nature's way of having immortality.
yeah.
You continue your likeness by having offsprings. And if you don't, that means you wasn't successful.
saying
You died off.
likeness or
Other people
likeness?
look at it differently. They look at continuing on whatever they are by how much of themselves, everything other than the physical that they get to put on into the future.
Yeah,
And that can be done through anybody that's there to
again,
feed
like we're
into
talking
whatever you're
about,
saying. It doesn't
the
have to be your
human
own
race
kid.
is on its own. Like if we're looking at the very big picture, you get what I mean? But I'm saying, up to now, people still feel like these things affect them.
They do.
If it was like that, we would have no issues, Democrat, Republican. None of these things would be a problem if you're looking at the human benefit.
Can
Right.
I also ask a question when it comes to even from a medical standpoint? Because like you said, your parents would be like, no, that's still not yours.
Yeah.
Because if it came down to it and that person needed a blood transfusion or whatever they needed, you would not be able to give that person what they need.
Yeah.
And also, being that in different, not cultures, but I want to say ethnicities,
Yeah.
in different ethnicities, like certain ethnic groups are more susceptible to certain diseases, whereas other ones are not. So then when you start to procreate, when you're doing all this interracial relating happening, like it makes it harder to find different, I don't know, diagnoses. Like there's all these different diseases coming up. They're like, well, where is that coming from? Like, how is that happening? But it's because all this different mixing that's happening. But then they're not coming up with any. I'm sorry, really.
Yeah.
Because and now they don't know how to cure things. They can't. It's making it hard. He doesn't like it, but
It's not that I don't like. It's just what I understand when it comes to genetics and how nature works. The more diverse a population is that produces generations after generation, the better it is actually to weed out anything that's weak. It's whenever you stick too constricted with how you reproduce and all of that, that's when you actually find the weaknesses can't continuing on. When you mix, only dominant genes gets passed on. Yeah, and last time we spoke about this, I touched on the fact that the reactions and the dynamics of the reaction to interracial couples or whatever that is gonna be different based on your location. If you're in a majority black, so to speak, area, you know, they're gonna look at the other race coming in differently. You get it, and the white person's gonna it's based on where you're at, as far as who gets to be upset, who gets to be humbled. You know.
So you're trying to say if there is actually a place you can go and they will not realize that this is a black person with a white person, or a white person and a black person.
It's not that I'm saying first of all, okay. So I feel like
I don't know. I
feel like in general, when it comes to this race thing, man, I really feel like a lot of it is gonna be like the genetic aspect, meaning everybody of color. We all kind of generally know, like when you procreate with blackness, the blackness is gonna show up. Period. You know what I'm saying? So when you're in majority black, the way they look at it when you bring in like somebody other than anybody of melanin, you know, dominance, they sometimes they don't care. They know that the kids are gonna still carry on blackness, whatever that is to them, as far as the looks, you know. And it's different for when you move into like the European type thing and black people come in. But sometimes they don't care either, because if everything around them is white, sometimes having a black husband or a black wife, they know that, okay, you know, as long as they behave white enough for us, you know, we gonna gobble up all of that. When they pass on, their wealth becomes ours. It's not like, you know, like all that stuff kind of gets controlled by our white business, our white family affairs. You know what I'm saying?
No.
You guys don't understand
Yeah,
what
I'm
I'm
a
saying,
bit
but I really do feel like
I
when
understand
Yeah.
When if you move into
understand.
Mexico
Okay.
and you're just a black, I just really feel like,
You're any
In
race,
America-
just say you're just another race.
huh?
You
I
go
do
into
feel like
Mexico.
who's dominant, the race that's dominant in the area is gonna be the race that doesn't mind taking on other people in a way. And I feel like that's what Ninja was touching on. America is so white dominant already, and we know what that means, right? In certain aspect, because they got the numbers, and that's why it feels like, okay, you know, when you get up there in the echelon of socioeconomic status, like when you see them people like moving on to whatever, like that's what gets to become an issue, because it's kind of like you see it as it's being lost, you know? Because I was looking at the way she framed her situation, like, you know, white woman stole my man, stole my good black man, and I'm like, how did you not look at it like?
Counter that, bro. Counter
How did
that.
you not look at it like your black man just took away a white lady? You know? You see, because we're already in the paradigm where it's white dominant. So anything that goes to white, it's a take. It's not a give. It's not like the smaller guy taking anything. You see? It's looked at as they just took something from
But
the us.
I feel like they also felt that way, kind of. So are you trying to
I
say
get it, like
the
the
white
genetically,
people don't
I get it,
care?
genetically, the white side might look at it and say they just took our white woman or my white son because
That's
they
what I
know
was gonna
that
say,
the
'cause-
kids aspect is gonna not be whatever.
Because
You know?
if you're saying that the people that are more dominant are not gonna care, I kind of feel like
That's
you
the
know.
same
No,
way.
I'm
there.
saying they care in a different. I'm saying,
Blacks care more.
Bro.
yeah, because it's more for them to lose. That's all I'm saying.
We do.
They only lose the likeness aspect of it. You get it? The genetic aspect. What happens when they become a family, it's going to be majority black stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But they might not care if they align and they appease to their white culture. You get it? And they might think that they're going to have more influence over this black person or whoever else moving into their
Basically
family.
Talking about Get Out.
Yeah. The get out situation is going to be more common in a white dominated situation. It's going to be more accepted.
He's saying like
Then-
if we go over to their culture, we're not like if they come
You
to
can't
ours, we're not
shake
gonna
anything
push our
up that
culture
much.
down on their throat like that more so. But like if we go to them, they're gonna make sure they still keep their stuff. It's just they're not gonna care as much because they still get to keep their own like culture per se. But compared to like us, like we tend to lose it if we go over to like even to them or they come to us.
But exactly. But in a place where it's like black dominant, you're not so worried about that because it's the flip. Both genetic, but well, you already have the genetic
because
aspect.
it's more dominant in that area.
But then,
like there.
but then, you know that it's like it's dominant black stuff. So them coming into your business is not that. It's not like looked upon the same way because, okay, they're in our house. You know.
What does Faith think about this? Like,
Yes.
like she's just like
You guys are talking about the genetics, the culture.
It is a big part of it.
Yeah, like
That's
me,
why, because that's why you started
to
off.
me,
race.
it's about
Real
black
humans.
and white. You know, I just feel like people should do what they want to do. You know, I don't know how my parents will feel if one day I bring a black man, a white man,
yeah.
to show them.
Despite the
you know.
fact that it's gonna be in a dominancy, I think people still
yeah,
gonna care.
I'm not saying they don't care.
They care.
This
oh
is
my
the thing.
God, they care.
Because from what you're saying, I see what you mean, but I also get kind of confused because people really would be bothered by, oh my God, they're marrying a white person. Like, let's say I take a white man back home. My parents might not even care. Like,
See,
but I know some families
Yeah.
really bothers them, and it doesn't mean like you're getting married and going back to America. You're probably getting married and staying
I
in the
know.
country where
I feel like
other
we're shrinking
people-
this down too much. Are we talking about people appearing
We're talking about several
whites
things.
or different racial group, or are we talking about?
We're talking about different racial groups, not just
Because
whites.
what if it's somebody
marry
from
an
next
Asian
door? They just
person.
happen to have that other
Yeah,
skin. You see?
bro.
We're
Would
not
they still
talking
be
the skin
as?
tone is the skin tone. When you see
But that's what
somebody,
we're
you see their
labeling
physical.
race as.
When you see someone,
Bro,
you see their
Right.
physical appearance first.
Yeah.
like, people are not gonna go, oh shit, he's with a black girl, my guy's black. No, you're with a white dude, my chick. Like, that's what it is.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it is what it is. Nobody's gonna
And
see
we're
me.
not
as-
I don't think you guys are from a place. See, okay. First of all, I should ask two questions. How many people here have ever tested out the interracial thing, as they put it, interracial dating?
I haven't.
You haven't.
Whoever
How,
dated
you
interracial.
haven't. How has that turned out?
I'm asking. Can you just answer?
No, for
this
real.
shit? Have you
But-
ever
because-
dated interracial?
Because you're asking that based on your personal experience.
No, I'm not asking based on my personal experience.
I've like hooked up. I don't know if that counts.
No, dating.
I
No.
haven't.
I
Okay.
haven't dated too many people anyhow. But
Okay.
also,
And then the other
I
question
just don't
would
like
ask
everybody.
Is, the other question I would ask I would ask on top of that is how many of us is from an environment where people aren't that heavily judged based on their appearances?
Bro, right now, if I am dating Faith, technically I'm dating somebody from a different race. If I'm like different race, different group, right? If I'm saying still our cultures are completely different. If I'm bringing her home, I'm not saying, again, my parents are cool with stuff, but usually people go, yo, what's going on? Why aren't you marrying somebody from your culture? That's what people say. Because the culture and stuff, you gotta, race comes with a lot of stuff. It doesn't just come with genetics,
I don't
whatever
know
you're talking about.
why
Culture
it's like-
comes with it, bro.
There's
That's
a
what I'm
lot of
saying.
things.
I respect the culture moves.
Oh, that's sexy. You do, not
Yeah.
people do. That's what
I
we're
respect
trying to talk
when
about.
you
Shit.
connect it with like make sure they're from like culture, like enough of the culture is similar, so enough of it will be guaranteed to move on.
But the vibe is, it's more like you're not. See, when I'm like, okay, going back to my parents, you're gonna have to give up certain things because, like, again, even the food you're gonna eat is gonna be different now. Going down
We're
to
agreeing
it.
here. I already agreed with you. I'm saying I can see when they make the decision of uniting based on similarities in enough of the culture aspect.
Yeah, and what we were actually talking about, but even before we started doing this video, I don't know if you guys remember. Being in a relationship is even more than just love or liking them. You have a lot. It's like you gotta need a lot of stuff in common.
Yeah.
Which we
To
should
build.
get into. But yeah, I feel like that's what you gotta think about for a minute. You know. But yeah, like I was saying, it goes back to the point of you can have love, but you might have a lot of stuff that are not in common with one another, making that relationship stressful, or like they put stress on the relationship, right? Just because because we were all talking about this, right? Before when we were talking about topics and stuff. Yeah. Hopefully we're not screwed. But that's what I'm saying. Even though you have a person, you can sacrifice a lot. That's the thing. When people are looking out for you, even the video we watched and they go, why? Don't bring, you can marry somebody better. They just don't want their kids, I feel like, to sacrifice a lot of stuff they grew up living, the culture and the stuff you grew up, even music, even food we're talking about. You're going to sacrifice that because it's going to be mixed now. You're going to have to give their other person's culture room also. You get what I mean?
And the more
I feel like, I'm just trying to bring points here. Just so
the
that
more
we can-
stuff.
But you do see the
gonna-
flip side though, right?
Yeah.
The flip side of that is, what if none of that is being threatened because the person that's being introduced into this situation is of the same. They were raised in the same. The only thing different is that skin.
That's in that concept
see?
of Jamaica and everybody growing
Not just
up in
Jamaica,
that
but
same
yeah,
realm.
that type
And that's
of
it.
environment.
But most people don't get to deal with that. You get what I mean? Most people don't have that. Even in a country like we were talking about, South Africa, that's kind of similar to yours, they don't have that there, bro. The separation is heavy.
Yeah, I don't think
The whites
South
are the
Africa-
rich, and the blacks are the poor.
But
That's
also,
the thing.
That's a whole different concept.
Yeah.
we can be growing from the same place, but at the end of the day, I can act the same way as you, but things are different at home.
That's true.
So I get it unless you really. It's the same way they say you can date with a person and you're happy throughout until you actually have to live with them. Now there is nothing like you get mad, you play it off cool, and you go home and get
You're
over
go
it.
home
Now
to that person.
home is like
gotta
home
deal
is
with
where you
that
just
person.
had the argument. Now it's like I'm stuck here, type of like. What I'm trying to say, like, I get it. Like, I can be acting the same way. Like, we have culturally in your eyes, it's the same, but it's a different thing home. There's, I think it was a friend or a professor. I can't remember. They told me, like, when they were outside, because they were asking them, I think it was my uncle. They're asking them, like, how do you still speak the language or, like, act the way, like, you still have some of the culture, yet when you were outside, like, you acted like all of us. Like, what is this about? And he's like, I was a regular kid outside. I acted just the same as everybody outside. But when I get home, when I remove my shoes or my clothes or anything, as soon as I step inside the doors of my house, everything that I was doing outside goes out with it. Now I'm gonna have to act like my culture now.
And just to
it's gonna be
add on
heavy.
to her point, just somebody also had I like this some time back, and they said, you know how easy it is to say. They said even when you're arguing with a person, they say, you know how easy it is to argue in your own language. They're like, you can't even defend yourself when you're arguing with a person with a different culture, lingo, like, you get what I mean?
Everything.
It's definitely
So it's
barrier.
like you can't even express yourself in that relationship.
Yeah, you get
Just
mad, you're
because
like,
you won't be able to express yourself to the fullest,
only.
you're gonna be less than you are. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's what, just to add on to her point, and that's what, like, when you look at it historically, it's shut. Like, people now, we all want to be open minded, and I get it, and we all want to be like,
There's nothing
this
wrong
is-
with that. But
and love is love, and I want everybody,
Yeah.
listen, humanity over any race, right? That makes a lot of sense, and it's there. But when you see why the older generation did this, and you go like, oh wow, like, you know what I mean? Maybe there's some points into this. That's what I just, again, bring back to this combo. But yeah, I feel like he wants.
I'm okay. Okay, if we go back though, I feel like how far back do you want to go? I feel like when you go back and you really see people just sticking with what they.
The stricter it was, like, it's like.
Yeah, but then also the more opportunity, they didn't have to be flying to
That's
Europe
the other thing,
somewhere
like,
or
now,
taking
like,
a train.
people are
So it was
expecting, like,
natural.
that video we
you mess
watched,
with people in your
They
area.
grew up in Canada. That guy grew up in Canada. He grew up with with immigrants and Canadians and all that stuff. And now they're expecting him to fall in love with a person from their own race, probably who he doesn't even know. Call back and talk to Korea or something. You know what I mean?
I have a question.
Which is insane on its own.
When we're intermixing, and there's certain values in your culture that you want to pass down that maybe they don't particularly agree with, how does that affect the relationship and where you're building in this marriage that's not for love but for everything else? For if you're marrying someone where maybe your mind seems a little bit similar, but when it comes down to the foundation where you want to raise your family on, and there's so many barriers or things that are conflicting, how does that work?
Because technically, when you're
It's
raising
not
your
good,
kid, I
yeah.
feel like you're gonna implement your own cultures, and you're gonna give them. You're
just
gonna
gonna give
their
them the winning
own-
stuff.
You know what I mean? And
But it's
even-
like, I think she's saying, what if winning or whatever is beneficial to the family is different for one and the other?
That's exactly.
I think that's what she's.
That's exactly it.
That's
How's
what I'm
that?
saying.
That's where the fight comes in. Are you gonna say no? We're
But-
not gonna win. We're gonna stick to.
But also, I
This
feel
culture,
like,
like, how do you-
winning. It depends
No, when I say win, I mean just the
perspective.
winning. You know,
'Cause,
winning.
Certain.
Which
Um,
is
This is the
winning
thing, I
ways to
can
be in
think-
life.
Yeah.
Okay, one
Survival,
thing.
like fittest.
Some people feel like beating their kids is okay. It's a way of, it's a win thing. Like, that's how kids should be raised. Some other people feel like, no, you have to talk to them, or like timeouts or whatever. But now, even if you're saying like you have to give the kid the winning thing, but like who's judging now what is good? Because my good might not be your good. Because what I was raised to is different from what you were raised to, even though we're trying to like now amend and like make all these sacrifices.
Yeah.
And same with that, people come with religion also.
True.
Like,
Yeah.
the same
Yes.
cultures come with religion, you know.
It's gonna
Races
always
come with
gonna
religion. Like
always gonna put a
you can
strain
come and
on
say,
the
I don't want my
relationship.
kid to be, I don't mind, like the kid could be, like Christian or whatever. Then somebody else is gonna go, yeah, I think my kid wants to be Muslim or Hindu, whatever. And now
Or like
you
they
gotta
can
say,
be whatever they
who's
want.
what now? Because even the values, the core values are always the same.
Yeah.
But the little details, the niche, like the little tiny details are a little bit different. And then you go, I want this person to do this. Some religions, even the diets are different. Like the Christian, even like I'm an Orthodox Christian, the family is, and we fast technically, and you're not allowed to eat pork like it's like the Muslims, and you're not allowed to do certain things. Then if my parents, or my dad or my mom had married somebody from a different, and they go, no, we mess with this, we cannot, and then it's like, you get what I mean though? Like it's just, that's what you gotta deal with, and this is what the old people, I feel like, are trying to look out for when they're trying to do stuff like
And
this. Not saying
I
it's right,
think
but I feel
you're
like it
more
has its own.
you're more afraid that, because the more you give in, it's like when you give in with, like, let's say you're on a diet and you say, oh, just this day I'm gonna do this, and then like now tomorrow you're doing the same thing that was going against your diet just because you gave in the first time. So you're gonna, it's like you sacrificed a little, but you're gonna have to sacrifice over and over and over,
Continuously, so then it becomes
and
larger.
then now you're like, they're gonna see you less, like you kind of not losing yourself, but you're adapting to this other culture, but now they cannot identify themselves with you. Not that you're any different, but just because of your conditions, some things had to change because of the person you're with. Like
That's true. And I feel like the kids suffer more in this
Long
situation.
term, yeah.
That's what I
they-
was saying.
They
Yes.
suffer more.
They get to give birth to a lot of beautiful babies. A lot, even if they're not just mixed white and black, even different mixes, they get to beautiful babies.
the girl
The
was
Blasian,
pretty.
she was-
Yeah, she
Beautiful.
is.
I know.
She is.
Okay, yeah, I can see there's two major things going on, and I can see the reason why they both are still going on down the line. I can see why people want to kind of stay pure to their, not just to their race. It's just that the race is the easier way to tell the culture.
Yeah.
Because it's like you don't have to bump up your head against a lot of different changes. Okay, so that just makes, in essence, life easier. But I can also see why the other people say screw that, because that's what kept the world messed up. Because people are looking at people and making snap judgments and denying people power, or just taking power based on how you look versus how they look, you know? And, you know, saying, you know what, if everybody kind of just pull from each other and just use what works and quit worrying about shade, skin shade, maybe all that give and take would put the world more in a more net neutral, you know when you draw a Venn diagram? That space that everything intersects is going to be wider, and it gets wider and it gets wider, and like we're talking about offspring, I guess that's what would measure it.
Yeah.
They would grow a bigger and bigger amount of the population, or at least even if it's just a mindset. Like, because now this Asian family has to work with that black family. Even though they're not producing Asian and black kids, it's like this black family and Asian family can be more understanding of blackness and Asianness.
Actually, with that situation,
And that alone, them people that took the plunge can see as a benefit in the whole pushing the world forward type thing.
in that situation, I think
Without thinking
actually,
about what's losing
it's
and whatnot.
like the girl is already somewhat Asian, 50% Asian, 50% black. So it's not like they're gonna really be losing so much, but still, it's like.
But still,
That-
for them,
That's
a
what I'm
loss is a
saying.
loss.
Like nobody's
But-
100% nothing.
Going back to his
So that's-
point, I don't think I could have concluded this topic even any better. He said it.
Yeah,
Love
you
one
gotta
another.
do
This whole
what you
stuff
gotta
is
do.
extra, man. Race or whatever.
power.
We're all
And
And I've
humans
learned
at
a
the
lot
end of
from
the day.
it.
It's power
That's how
and
they
lack
We're
of
all
power.
like trying to make a living, but like, you know, don't let these little details divide us while you can grow as a society and human race as a whole.
That's
On that, guys, that's that episode for the week.
Yeah, interracial. Yeah, just
Yeah.
do you.
Yes.
Do
What
you
you gotta
guys.
do.
Do you?
Yeah,
And
whatever
think
works.
of your kids.
Bitch, what? Bitch, what?